All right, friends, welcome again to another podcast. Today, we are going to dive into a very, very important subject, a hot subject as of right now, current affairs. We'll be talking about Iran. We'll be talking about what's going on over there, how that affects Israel, the United States, etc. And today, I have a wonderful guest who is actually one of the world experts on this matter from Israel. I have my honored guest today, whose name is Sagiv Asulin. He is an Israeli expert here from the intelligence community, has been working for the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. He's a former senior officer and operations commander in Israel Security Services. He has extensive experience in intelligence, national security, strategy, and international affairs. And basically is going to give us an inside account on Iran and their influence, what they do, how they operate, and to try to give us some clarity about the current affairs that's happening with Iran. So, Sagiv, thank you today for being on this interview, being part of the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little background, and then we'll dive into the subject matter here in just a few moments.
Happy to be here, Doron, first of all. Yes, and I spent the last 15 years operational, foots on the ground, let's call it like that. Um, Less coming from the area of research and analyzing, more sitting and meeting and having everything around the Iranian topic. So most of that more around the Iranian front. Um, let's just say that I I met I spent a lot of time with a lot of Iranian, and I'm pretty much on this subject as I guess as we will speak and see.
So you've had boots on the ground experience with the Iranians. As you're saying, you're not how we say a research analyst or what have you, right? So through your many years of experience with the Iranian people, with what's going on in Iran, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of the situation that we have right now, which is a hot, high alert here in Israel? I know we're right now in high alert. I know the Iranians are on high alert. Why is that? What's going on? How do we get here? What led us to this, to where we're at right now?
So everything, of course, started October 7th. We cannot look at what's going on now in Iran without understand that it started October 7th. The Iranian, I will say, strategy, by the way, always was, not just now, 3,000 years ago. When the Iranian, now it was ancient Farsi empire, is to take out of their territories, of their lands, the fight, the war, and to use proxies. And in a way, they did exactly the same. In the last, I will say, 40 something years, this is what they did after Iran-Iraq war. That was the last time that they felt real war on their area. The strategy was to build a ring of fire around Israel. And of course, we know the Hezbollah and the Houthis, and in Iraq and Syria, of course, all those forces that been activated in proxies of Iran, and all of them were, coming from the same religious background of Shias, and the other proxy that is Sunni, and it's unique, but still, when you have a common enemy, everything is possible. Even this situation is the Hamas in Gaza. And I will start with the bottom line is that what we are seeing is a situation that started October 7, from Gaza, and it will end hopefully very soon with the collapse of the Iranian regime.
Mm.
Uh, all the strategy of Iran, ring of fire, proxies, take the war out and far from Iran collapsed. And now we are coming very soon to the last battle that will take place in Iran. And we can talk about why this round of demonstration and riots in Iran are so different from the last ones, especially the 2022 Massa Amini and the 2009, what we call those days the Green Wave or the Green Movement.
Hmm. Well, there are commentators out there that are saying that this is all connected to Israel, that Israel, well, not meaning just with Iran, but they're also clumping in together what happened in Venezuela and with the toppling of the leader there. And so, one of those claims, I just want to kind of throw that out as well, because this has been some of the current discussion on the internet, on the Israel's behind every conspiracy issue. Is what happened in Venezuela connected to what's happening with Iran? A, but also B, is Israel really behind um, basically causing the United States government to bend to our desire, to our politics, and what supports us? Do we have that much control in Washington? Is what I'm basically asking as well.
You know, um, uh, they give us too much credit. That's I must say, America, they got their own interests, of course. And I think that if just to mention, you mentioned Venezuela, I think that President Trump, um, it's a very wise man and president. He saw out loud and in a very clear way that America's got an enemy, and people that shout 10 times a day, "Mard ba'Amrika, mard Israel." So it's mean death to America. And people sometimes ask, what is the strategy of Iran for Israel and for America? And sometimes it's a complicated question, but in case it's very very easy. And if you take that and you take the fact that Iran started to put physical bases around America, and you saw what took place in Israel, so you just need to connect the dots and to
Mm,
say, okay, I will not allow the Iranian regime to try to do the same things that they did to Israel to America. And you have in Colombia and Venezuela and in Cuba and in other places. And you need to add to that, the narcotic and other things. And of course, not a lot of people understand and know how Venezuela and Colombia and other places played a major role on the world terror by money laundering, narcotic. Quds forces and Hezbollah forces are in Venezuela in the what we call the triangle borders in Uruguay and Paraguay and other places in South America. They are there for many years, and the Western countries in general in America, in a way, allow that to happen for too long, and someone needed to stop that. And that's the case. Those are American interests. Israel don't have anything with that. I can't say that we are not happy for the outcome of what's happened, because it's influenced all the I will say the global war and terror. But I think that anyone that is part of Western civilization and Western countries need to be glad for the outcome of what's happened.
mm,
Um, so that's about that. And I think that Trump, America, they are leading the free world. It's not a question about Israel or not Israel. It's not about Zionism. It's not about anti-Semitism. It's not about that. It's about protecting Western civilization. It's about protecting Western values. And maybe for too long we've been with the moral clarity, the situation between good and bad was vague a little bit, or not a little bit, very much. Now, when a president is like Trump is coming and define what is good, who is good, who is bad, what is darkness and what is light, and decide to fight for Western civilization to save America, because as I see it, the one is all connected. If we are seeing Mandani being elected in New York, if we see the situation in London, in Paris, in Madrid, in other places, that's not a coincidence. You have Qatar from one side. You mentioned Turkey, also others that penetrate to the Western countries by using soft influence, propaganda, education. They are doing that for a long time. And you have Iran strategy, they're doing that, but also doing kinetic physical war.
Mm,
They declare war on Western civilization, on Israel, on America, on other places. Israel is on the front line, and I think people see that right now and understand that it's not about Israel. Eventually, it will come to the West, and the president decided to stop that before it will. They will have their own October 7th.
mm. Well, I would actually argue that it's already in the West. It's not to try to prevent it, but rather right now you have a president who's actually finally stepping up to stop what's coming in the West, and that's actually what I've been a part of with a group of former American special forces and CIA analysts and whatnot. And so we've been actually warning in the West of an October 7th style attack that's been in the planning for years. It's not something that just happened yesterday, but we're talking about decades of these groups infiltrating through South America, and like you pointed out, also operating and getting their funds through money laundering, human trafficking, all these different means to finance their terrorism. And so that to me is a big concern. And I would say, like you pointed out, I'm very grateful that there's a president that seems, in my opinion, that's finally listening and protecting U.S. interests. And it just so happens to be, like you pointed out, that it also supports Israel's interests because Israel's on the front lines in the Middle East of the war, the global war of terrorism and jihad, really, that's trying to take over both Israel and the West together. And you made a great point. In Tehran, they're not saying death to Israel, and America is getting into Israel's backing and saying, "Oh, we're going to protect you." But it's actually death to America and Israel always. You're right. That's what I see, at least on the streets. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm seeing the wrong footage. Maybe I'm seeing propaganda, but I think you have more real world experience and the beat on the ground in Tehran. And what I've seen is they've always talked about both America and Israel. And point in case, I would say, is what happened when Khomeini took over in '79, when you had the Iranian U.S. embassy hostage crisis that lasted for over a year. So correct me if I'm wrong in my interpretation that America's not always been the threat to Iran and other of these groups that are trying to push for global terrorism.
You are very much accurate, and I will say more than that. The enemies, not just the enemies of Israel, the enemies of Western civilization, the enemies of America, they have an I will say a way to put their attention just in front of us in a very clear way. They are not hiding their attentions. They are not hiding their goals. Um, they are saying that the supreme leader, the regime, the Iranian regime, they are saying Israel is the tool, is the method how to get eventually to America. Why America? Because America is leading the free world, leading the West. Well, it's important to understand if we are getting to that, and I think it's important to understand that what is the goal of the Iranian regime? Why is it? Because people ask, even Israelis ask, okay, what do you want from us? Well, we don't have a border together. We don't have
Right.
anything any conflict, so called the direct conflict. So why and what? Why they are shouting death to America and death to Israel? To understand, it's important to understand the Shia perspective. Goal um, eventually is to bring back their Imam Ali, the ninth Imam, and it's the way that they see that he will come back. They are very, very messianic in a way of according to their belief, and this will take place only after a global war against the kafarin, the sinners. All right.
Hmm.
So who are those sinners? Those sinners are America. That's the Westerns, Israel, and by the way, not just that, also the Sunnis. So If
Mm,
I think that if there are some countries that are maybe are quiet right now out there, but they are holding their fingers and hoping more than any other countries that that will be successful, it's Saudi Arabia and Gulf countries and all of that. That they are Iran is an enemy and a threat for them. Um, More than any other country. So in this aspect, America that got, of course, a lot of interests in Saudi and in all the Gulf are protecting them, but protecting American interests also. Just
mm,
to get back to everything that you mentioned before, I really believe, by the way, that the I will call it the public perspective, the war on the West, not about Israel, not about Judaism, not about Zionism, all of those things are cover, are a step on the way to get to America, to get to the Western civilization. And we see that are much more dangerous or equal, you know what, much more dangerous as I see it than the Iranian threat. Uh, I think that you're 100% right by mentioning that a lot of European countries, it's not they are going to be conquered or they are penetrating. They already did that. As I see that, London, Paris, Brussels, other places, most of Europe, and a matter of fact, already fallen.
mm,
We don't need to waste any time over there because of demography. Maybe in 10, 15 years, we will fight back over there and try to claim back those countries. But as I see it now, the only place that is matter, the only place, and this is the last battle, the last fight, is America. Because in
mm.
America, we didn't cross. It's not too late yet. And
Right.
American people are smart and they see the situation and they see what's going on in New York and they see what's going on in Europe, and they will not let radical Islam to conquer them from the inside. And you were very much accurate when you mentioned that it's not started now. What I can share that I think that the enemies of the Western civilization understood more than 20 years ago that they can't win against the West in kinetic regular physical war. So they declare and initiate propaganda, what I call the Eighth Front. Why
Mm.
Eighth Front? Because Israel,
Or technically dawa.
yes, yes, Israel is fighting in seven physical fronts. Thanks God,
Mm,
we are winning. The Eighth Front is the fight against Western civilization, against by using soft influence, education, social media, legal war, economical war, and for too long, for so long, we didn't fight back over there. We are still not doing the right work over there. Israel, America, Western countries in general, and that is being led by Qatar, but also by Iran, and we see the outcome of that. The fact that in October 8th, not October 7th, we saw what we saw in Harvard University, and 5 days later in Columbia University, and then in all the universities in America and in Europe. This is not a coincidence. The
mm,
fact that Mandani is being elected in New York, this is not a coincidence. This is an outcome, a result of a well sponsored campaign, maybe the biggest, hugest campaign that the humankind ever saw. Billions of dollars have been sent through education system, through culture, using the democracy liberal method, and you know, in the past, someone that were coming also from an immigrant to a Western country, to America, for example, was coming to, you know, to be the American dream.
mhm,
Now they are coming to change America, and they declare that in out loud and clear. So this is a war for Western civilization that we are, or I hope we are waking up now, because we see what's going on worldwide, but we are not 100% there yet. That we need to wake up. President Trump is absolutely awake on that. We see a difficult and very dangerous signs from the right side of the political map in America that I don't know how they get to that, but in a way contradicting that from inside, and in a way always almost coming to the same, I will say, opinion of the radical left,
mhm,
and 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 that's a crazy situation that need to be stopped. people need to wake up and understand. And it's not just radical Islam. As I see it, it's a triangle of three, I will say, ideologies. It's the radical Islam, it's woke progressive radical left movement, and communism. But not
Hmm.
communism that we remember from the 50s, or the that's a new I would say ideology of communism, of that from economical reasons and other reasons coming to create chaos on the enemy camp, and we are the enemy camp for them. All those three ideologies, it's not that they are sitting every week, in one room and say, okay, you will do that, you will do that. This is Each one of them is getting to a vacuum that's created because of modern democracies, liberals, and we see what's going on with the young generation, how they are losing themselves, and we need to fight back over there in this eighth front. It's more critical than any other fight, even than the Iranian front. This is how I see it, anyway. In a way.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I think what the people in the West have not been they're not familiar with is how they've been attacked through the tactics of the silent jihad, the dawah, using, like you pointed out, funding universities, funding Hollywood, funding mainstream media outlets, funding news agencies, funding political pundits, that will help kind of create change and move and shift opinions. And one of the things I saw actually lately on social media, I saw a post that somebody put up where they were having like this talk, like it's like a podcast, but they had a bunch of people in it, and a lot of them were young kids. And the guy that was, I guess, managing this podcast thing was asking these young girls, I guess they were influencers, right? Asking them, so if a foreign entity were to attack the United States, would you side with America or with that foreign entity? And literally all four of the girls said they would side with the foreign entity.
What I
I mean,
emphasize is that
that,
this is it looks like craziness, and I would say this is
yeah, yeah,
not a coincidence. This is
right.
not a coincidence. This is an outcome, a
Yeah,
result of brain, generation that was brainwashed. That that's a weapon. Our
yes,
enemies use this weapon on the young generation for too long, and this is what we see, and this is more effective from anything else, because they don't have, in a way, any other way to win, so they are using that, and we allowing them to use those methods, this weapon.
yeah,
um, and that's a very dangerous situation, and we need to wake up. It's not just a statement that the West need to wake up. We see crazy situation in America, people that came all the way, and in a way, come together now with our with Western civilization enemies, like Tucker Carlson,
yeah.
or this the other idiot,
Candace,
Candace, Nick
Candace
Fuentes.
Owens, Nick Fuentes, yeah, and a long list of others. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, group of idiots that in a way shutting themselves, their
Hmm.
families, their future, their everything. And I don't know, who they are really representing in America. But if anyone see himself agree with what they are representing, need to really check himself, and see, check, a reality check.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, but what we can, I really think this is a very important topic, and very dangerous enemy and methods for Western civilization, for America mainly. Um, but we can go back to Iran if you want. That's
Yeah,
also
yeah, yeah, of course. But what I will say is the thing that people have been brainwashed to believe is that there's a Zionist agenda when we call these people out. That's because like Ben Shapiro, he's a pundit for the Zionist. And here's something that I want people who are saying this to check, because I've challenged these people. They keep challenging me online. They keep messaging me. They keep trying to correct me. And these are people that, so the irony is there's also some of them that supported me during the war and said, we're praying for you. We're with you. Israel, no, you're not alone. And now I'm getting messages with anti-Semitic rhetoric and them sending me these posts and saying Israel's behind the fires in Argentina. Israel's behind this. Israel's behind. Israel has a pedophilia problem in Israel. And the list goes on. And these are good people. I know some of these people, and they're good people that are not trying. They're not anti-Semites outright, so to speak, right? They don't have that as an agenda. They actually had a pro-Israel agenda, if you like, as Christians and so on. And so when I see people like that, like you pointed out, from the right, that have completely bent and completely changed, then I challenge them to just look at what Ben Shapiro says versus what Tucker, Candace, and others say, Megyn Kelly, etc. They are obsessed with Israel, and I've seen these videos where you see how many times they mention Israel, and you see, for example, Ben Shapiro, and I was there, by the way, at AmFest when he made his speech. He was the only one that did not bring up Israel. He was the only one that brought up American issues and the problem within the right and addressing the truth and saying we need to fix this. And he's the one that got thrown under the bus, so to speak, as being the pundit for Israel. And I think it's important for people to understand he is an American who's an America first through and through. I've listened to him for years, and I've been annoyed actually with him on statements he made about Israel because he's too pro-American and because I am too pro-Israeli. That's me. Even though I speak with an American accent, I'm Israeli first. My personal interest in here, I'm putting my cards on the table, is Israel first for me. But I also believe that American interests should be America first as well, because I think that's the same for any country. Germany first, Iran first. It doesn't matter which country, your personal interests should trump anyone else's. So we agree on that. It's the problem is that Israel gets singled out somehow for having some kind of weird agenda and being able to influence every world government, not to mention the United States, who is, people just don't understand what that means. Like, think of the size of the government. Think of the size of American influence. Think of the operation they just carried out in Venezuela. I don't think Israel could do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sorry. America has way more power, way more influence than to be bothered by a small country like Israel in the Middle East. And then also historically, if you look at the relationship with America and Israel, Israel has always bent to American interest, is what I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then let's dive into what's happening with Iran and what is your projections of what you think is going to happen with the current revolution that's taking place on the streets in Iran.
Yeah. So first of all, as I see it, those people that I will say it like that. I believe that Israel first and America first is one is similar. I mean, in a way, Israel is standing on the front line for first of all for ourselves, but serving American interests. I don't see any similar situation with any other state. Israel is bringing a lot of profit, technology support, military wise. Any wise will not go to that. That's not the topic for. But
Right.
but
But
Israel
Israel's
first,
a contributor to American interests.
absolutely.
We
And
don't, we're not a drainer. We don't take foreign aid, so to
and
speak. Yeah.
I'm wishing the Americans to have this kind of relationship with any country that will contribute for their economy,
Mm.
security, like Israel. And it's goes same goes back for us as Israeli. And we the only difference is that we really appreciate, love, and support America for standing with us. And so I think when American says is America first, this is exactly the kind of relationship that America's got with Israel.
Mhm.
That's the way to do that. Um, People that condemn Zionism right now, they condemn Western civilization values.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Because what is it? What is it? Zionism? That's just this definition of Zionism. Zionism of maybe of 100 years ago when Herzl established the first Zionist movement in 1897. He did that because of a huge wave of anti-Semitism coming for the Jews in Europe, and you say, okay, it's going to be problem here 50 years before of the Holocaust. We need to we need to have a country, and we need to have a state, we need to have a nationality, and you know the history. All
Hmm.
right. Now, we have a state, we have nationality, we have language, we have all of that. Zionism is Western values. That's the same. This is the Israeli Western values. This is Zionism. So anyone that condemns Zionism, that say Zionism is Nazism, now that's bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language, but
But it's
that's
true. It's exactly that because
them
Zionism,
themselves.
yeah, is the Jewish aspiration, the Jewish people's right to their own homeland, their own self-determination, which, to be clear, the world agreed that Israel, the land of Israel, was where that would be for the victors of World War One, which was the San Remo
Yeah,
agreement that was
yeah,
made in Italy in 1920. So, for those who want to argue about the Zionist agenda, so to speak, in Palestine, it was the world leaders at the time who won in World War One. Just for people, listen very carefully what I just said there. We're talking about England. We're talking about was it France? We're talking about all these countries that came together, Russia, etc., who agreed that this should be the homeland of the Jewish people based on very many opinions that they made, and it's not because of the 1948 was it the United Nations resolution.
yeah,
The United Nations has no power to make international law, but it was the victors of World War One that were
yeah.
the international powers who made the decision, and it's internationally binding. San Remo, 1920, which was officiated in 1922. So learn history, look at the facts. We're not pushing here Zionist propaganda, as people are saying, and trying to make this demonized and wrong. And you
But
and
Doron,
based
what
off of
I'm
that,
trying,
you're fighting against Western civilization
you're,
and like you
you're
just said,
fighting yourself.
because you're fighting yourself.
You're
Exactly.
fighting your future. You're fighting your next generation. What I'm saying, everything
Yeah.
that you said, history-wise, is very accurate. And
Yeah.
each one, I'm challenging anyone to go and check the history, and they will see how accurate you are. But I'm talking about those days Zionism. Those days Zionism. Right now, this is Western values. If you agree with Western values, if you agree with Judeo-Christian basic values of freedom, of respect, of authority, of nationality, if you agree with that, you agree with Zionism. The definition Zionism and the way that it's been attacked, that's an outcome of a campaign,
Hmm.
well sponsored campaign that took place for 20 years, and we see that it's not a coincidence that we see that mainly in young generation, and it's not a coincidence also that those that usually opposed Zionism and oppose Israel, we will see a lot of other extra so-called beautiful, of course, I'm cynical, opinions, and that will get to that also against America, against themselves, against their values. You see a young Christian boy or a girl, all their life grew up on some values, uh, great values, same values that we are sharing, Western civilization, Western Judeo-Christian values, going all the way to the college, and suddenly they are coming back with woke ideas, with progressive idea, hating. Let's leave aside that they hate Israel or they against Israel. They hate themselves. They
Yeah.
hate America. They hate everything that their parents, their life, everything that gave them who they are, and that's the problem. And
Yeah.
if our enemies are trying to put it about Israel, about so-called Palestinians, so about all of that, that's not the case. This is a stage in a way to demolish Western civilization in America, and we are seeing that those days out loud out there. But it's not about Israel. Anyone then think that it's about Israel or Zionism. This is a camouflage. This is a
Yeah.
step on the way to get to America, and it's another coincidence that 25 years after, 25 years after October, after 9/11, we are seeing in the same place that the twin towers were standing. All the area is lighted with green color of the month of is solidarity with Islam. If this is not craziness, if this is not
Yeah.
something that we are losing our moral values, we are losing ourselves to our enemies. without even, without even someone shooting a single bullet.
Yeah.
They are taking us from inside, and the American need to wake up on themselves before it will be too late. And those that are listening, communicating, supporting, pushing Tucker, Frente, other idiots like that, and just talking in propaganda, in titles, in stuff like that, it will come back to you. It will come back
Mhm.
to you and to your families and to your. Just look what's going on in London and other places. In America, it's not too late. It's not too
Yeah.
late. And just to sum up that, and I believe that the only solution to fight that, because this is a real weapon that is in front of us, the only solution is Christian and Jews uniting together based on Judeo-Christian values and fighting that. And in this method, in this way, matter, we as Israelis need to grow up. Also, need to understand that we are not the center of the universe. Not everything is about us. Not everything is about us. We need to embrace our brothers, the Christians, sisters and brothers, and to unite together, fight for Western civilization, not to fight for anti-Semitism. We don't need Americans, Western countries to come and help us to fight for Israel or for anti-Semitism. That's yesterday. Now
Mhm.
Western countries, Western people in America and other places need us to support them, to fight for them, for their own values, to fight for Western survival. That's the case. Israel need to stop, try recruit the world to fight for anti-Semitism, against anti-Semitism. That's not the case. Now it's for Western values. We are like in 1897 that Herzl established the first Congress, Zionist Congress. Now we need a Congress that will fight for Western civilization, because now it's the sentiment is anti-Western, but is using an anti-Zionist Judaism, Israeli propaganda that step on the way. That's my call on that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I know a lot of Israelis are going to probably have a hard time with that statement you just made, but I think I agree with it because what I'm seeing, and that's again, it's people that I think are, like you said, Israelis. We're too focused on ourselves, so to speak. It's hard for us to see what others are going through. We're too busy worried about how where anti-Semitism is rising, and yes, it is a huge problem globally right now, but that's a side effect, like you pointed out, of the targeting of Judeo-Christian values, because it's not just Israelis or rather Jews who are being targeted, it's Christians globally who are being targeted right now. So it's simultaneous, and the world is silent towards the anti-Semitic attacks is equally as they're silent towards the Christian attacks. Christians being butchered right now, in
So,
Syria on our border, in
so
Nigeria, in Sudan. I mean, all over the world, Christians right now are being literally slaughtered. There's a genocide against the Christian faith and the Christian
how many
people.
Christians are left at the Palestinian Authority? Those are facts. You can see numbers. How
Yeah.
many of them been
Yes.
there?
Yes.
I'm saying even more than that, Doron. I'm saying
Yeah.
more than that. It's not that it's equal. You know, our enemies coming against Judaism, Zionism, and also Christians. No, that's a methodology. This is a step on the way. They are targeting the West. They
Yeah.
are targeting the Christianity, and we are a very comfortable tool or something on the way. That's a step.
Yeah.
It's not equal. We are, eventually we are 15 millions Jews worldwide. And we need to be honest also, as Jews, as Israelis. We need to be honest and to say we have a huge problem also from inside Judaism. You have a
Mhm.
group of Jewish, mainly in America, that they are exactly working against Western civilization, against Judaism, and against Judeo-Christian values. They, and yes, they are Jews. I'm sorry, but they are those that voted for Mandani, for example,
Yeah.
those that serve exactly the same goal of our enemies. We need to admit that we have problems. Those groups brought a lot of bad thing to the world, but they are not part of the camp. They are
Right.
not part of the Western values, Judeo-Christian alliance. They are not part of that. They are against. me as an Israeli against me as a Zionist, like that they are against a Christian, a guy from, I don't know, from Nashville or any other place.
Yeah.
And we need to unite against those groups also, because they come together, they go together, supporting woke progress, radical Islam, communist values. They are out of the camp. So the camp, it's not Jews, and in one side, we are not all the same. There
Right.
is a huge difference between Israelis, diaspora Jews, um, and these groups of, I will say, post-Zionist against Western civilization Jews that bring a lot of bad stuff to the world. They are
Yeah.
out of the camp, and we need to say that they are not part of what Israel represent. They are not part of what Zionism represent. They are against that.
Yes. And I think a good way to basically try to summarize that, the way I see it, is that this is a religious war. And you kind of touched on that here in the beginning when we were talking about Iran and what is, asking, well, what is their problem? And I think that what people need to understand is that the Iranians, as you're trying to point out here, they're trying to push for the caliphate, the Shia caliphate, right? Of their version, which is in contrast to the Sunni, which is in contrast to the Jewish faith, which is in contrast to the Christian faith. So it's actually a religious war. And the ones, like you pointed out, even within the Jewish community who will side with the enemy, those are the humanists, those are the woke, those are the one, and that's a religion to me. I don't care how you want to look at it, but you have a religion in believing that the wisdom of man is greater than the wisdom of God in the Torah
Absolutely.
and the Bible, that both the Jews and the Christians have had as the foundation of Western civilization. And that's what the fight is against.
I
And
agree.
people that don't want to talk about it because it's politically incorrect. You can't say that. Well, I just did. And I think it needs to be said more, because the more we shy away from pointing out the facts and the obvious, then the more we just kind of bog down in isms and this and that and him and her and hit and whatever. But that's the bottom line. And my encouragement or my call to action for Americans, for Europeans, is that you need to go back to your Christian faith.
Absolutely.
Nations in Scandinavia have the cross in their flag. And I point out the obvious. I'm saying, friends, look at the foundations of your countries. They are founded on on Christian faith. It can be different denominations, what have you, but at the end of the day, it's Christian foundations. And Europe, that has made Christianity passe, and now, like we're seeing in America, it's trying to push God out of our culture. That's why we're seeing these radical groups, either it be Islam from different persuasions, or we're seeing it from the woke, or we're seeing it from communism, like you pointed out. And you have that red green alliance that's trying to topple the West. And what are they targeting? They're trying to divide us and get us away from our
Yep.
faith, because they see that as the problem and the obstacle, because they know that we're strong when we stand on what we believe. And that's our moral compass, so to speak, in going and establishing, like you pointed out, Western values, which is biblical values, to be more blunt on that topic.
Yeah, yeah. The one, I agree 100%. You could put it in better words, and I'm just saying that
Yeah,
I'm not in a place to tell my Americans friends what to do. I can do it. I can do it in Israel, and in
yeah,
Israel, what I do, I'm explaining and bringing my Israelis, brothers and sisters, to embrace this relationship, to understand what is Judeo-Christian values, why we need to stand together, why there is huge differences between Catholic and Christian, evangelical Christians and others. Why there is something changed in the last 100 years from the approach of the church through Israel and through Judaism in general, and we are one camp. But
yeah,
I'm not telling Americans what to do. I'm doing that inside Israel. I will love the American to get to this conclusion and to embrace what you just said.
mm,
But I'm focusing in Israel to explain that, to prove that to my people, and to understand that it's not everything about us. We have alliances. there is something like that that called Judeo-Christian values, and this is what will save America, the West, and also Israel, and we are one. But
Yeah.
that, so that's
So
what's about that.
so now let's dive into, as we kind of cleared the air there a little bit, because again, people get bogged up with these issues, and we try to talk about Iran, and they're just going to say this is just some big Mossad conspiracy, Zionist conspiracy. So I think we kind of put that to rest. Let's move on now. Let's talk about Iran. Let's talk about, um, why is it, would you say, that it is a righteous cause what we're seeing for the toppling of the current regime in Iran, and try to explain also the demographics, because I think people don't understand the Persian people, the different other ethnicities within Iran, and try to and try to get the people to understand, or the audience, people that are listening, why is it beneficial actually for the Ayatollahs to be replaced, and what do you think they should be replaced with, I guess, is the question. In other words, what is the best solution outcome for the Iranian people or the Persian people? Because I think those are two things that are very confused when we talk about Iran today.
Well, first of all, I will say my the way that I see that is not necessarily like the way that a lot of most, I don't know if most, but a lot of people see that differently.
Yeah.
Iran is not a Syria, is not Lebanon, is not any other country like that. For ages, the Iranian state, even all the first Farsia, Persia, you say in
Persian, yeah, yeah,
Persian,
Farsi, Parsi,
Farsi, the
Persian,
Persian
yes, sir.
Empire, the
Yeah.
Persian Empire was always um, was not some, just one, I will say, group, nationality. There is always, it was a lot of groups, but all those groups together, they have something that unite them, and this is the Iranian nationality. So it's not like Lebanon and Syria that you have those different groups and nothing really bring them together.
Hmm.
So that's important to understand for an average Iranian. It's not important if he's from Ahvaz, or if he's from Balochistan, or if he's a Farsi. They are really part of Iran. They will prefer to stay together and not, if anything, if they will understand that something is jeopardize Iran as a country, they will unite, they will fight against that. That's important to understand. People a lot of for a long time saw the solution that will come from different kind of minorities in Iran, and that each one will fight the other. That's a big mistake. That's not the case in Iran. They are one nation, and they have, and it's not important if you are Kurdi or you are Arabic or you are that, you're first of all Iranian. That's important to, as I see that, to understand, and I think we see that right now.
Mm. What
uh,
about Azerbaijan and the Azerbaijanian? They say that's about a third of Iran as well. Is that, do they fit into that mix that you just pointed out?
in a way, yes, but the Persian Empire was the biggest empire, smallest empire, but as what we see right now in Iran, more or less, that's the core. And it's not that someone have the intention or the wish or the idea to separate Iran for small, cantons or states, or something like that. If exactly the opposite will happen, if someone will come with these kind of ideas, it, the Iranian regime will stay. This is exactly what they are warning from, and I think this is not what, I don't think, I know this is what not what the Iranian people want.
Mm.
Okay. Having said all of that, there is something that unite all the Iranian people except of this nationality. The Iranian nationality is the fact that, important to understand, 60% of the Iranian right now, they are under the age of 38.
Mm.
This is an incredible number.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible young nation, and most of them are very, very much secular. Most of them are against the radical Islam regime. The Iranian people and the Iranian regime, this is two separate things. There,
Hmm.
there, is, there is almost nothing that bring these two groups together. The young population in Iran, the young generation in Iran, they are Westerns in their state of minds. This is why this regime will, it, even if it's a question of time until it will collapse. Even if that events were not taking place right now, you cannot control 60, and as the time pass, more and more of your population, if they are not aligned with your values of who you are. 50 years ago in the Islamic revolution,
Yeah.
the left, by the way, that brought this revolution to that eventually the Islamic to control.
Hmm.
Uh, but
The
the
Ayatollahs are not Persian, correct?
no,
That
no,
took
part of
over.
that. So you have ayatollahs that they are Persian, yes, you have, and you have ayatollahs that are not Persian, but it's mixed. This.
Okay.
You have you take Khalil Larijani, for example, that he's Arab, but
Yeah.
he's Iranian. He's Farsi. Okay,
Yeah.
he's Iranian. You take the supreme leader is half from Azerbaijan background, Azari. So that's not the issue. People are confusing and saying, okay, that's groups. That's that. No, this is Iran. What
Okay.
what changing? What define them now? What's making all this thing different is the fact that they are missing and getting back to the days of, not to the Shah time that was 50 years ago, all
Hmm.
2000 years ago, to the ancient Zoroastric heritage and religious. Um, they see themselves those that represent the light, the good, the values, and the regime is representing exactly the opposite. That's the case in Iran. The young
Right.
generation in Iran is Western. It's related to our last conversation about good and bad, black and white,
Hmm.
evil and good. Um, they are there. They are part of the Western country. There is millions of people in Iran that convert to Christianity, to
Correct.
evangelical Christianity. You know why? Because they want to be close also to the Western values, but also to Israel. This is how
Yeah.
they don't define themselves as Muslims, as Shias. They define themselves or secular, or Baha'is, or Zarathustra, or Christians, but definitely not the
So,
house
so,
of.
so the Arab influence that we're talking about, that's the Islamic Arab influence, because
Yes,
Islam is, for those who don't understand, it doesn't matter where you come in the world. As a Muslim, you can come from Asia, you can come from Russia or America. The unifying factor there is that you study the Quran in Arabic and you do the prayers in Arabic. And so
yes,
that's the Arab influence that we're talking about. It's not necessarily the national influence that you're,
yes.
that's the nuance that people are missing, to
Islam
make
is a
it clear for
religious.
people.
Yeah, Islam is a
Yeah,
religious. Is not a nationality.
yeah. And the people of Iran, the Iranians, or the majority, you're saying that's what they're opposing.
They are opposing now. Yes, they are opposing Islam, but and also they are opposing everything that they represent in their own eyes, because you can see place that Islam is different in
Yeah.
a way. I don't know any Shias place that, you know what, I know Azerbaijan and other places, but they oppose everything that the regime is representing. And if to dive now to the situation that we have now in Iran,
Mm.
why this situation is so different from everything that we saw until now, 2009, 2022, is the fact, as I see it, two major, I will say, things that were lacking is an alternative leadership and international support. Because in Massa mini demonstrations in 2022, when it started, we had much more people on the streets. um, the violence, now we crossed this line already. Yeah, we are in a different situation, but everything was there. Also in 2009, everybody were in the street shouting the name of Obama, but Obama refused to help, Biden refused to help. No one was standing with the
Mm.
Iranian people, and that's the key factor that was lacking all the time, and international support, because they can't do that by themselves. They cannot bare hands, fight with the IRGC and Basij forces and all of those that they have one goal to protect the regime, nothing else, nothing else. When the, and the second thing that is crucial for any kind of revolution, that you will have a leader, something, even if it's a symbol, even if not everybody agree that he need to take control for the next step, and that was lacking. And
Mm,
now, even that no one saw that coming, the Reza Shah Pahlavi is playing this role. That's a fact that the people inside Iran reacting and following his calls. In Isfahan last Thursday, they put outside on the street his call, and people went outside shouting his name. I think that he play this role in a very good way. That he's saying, "I'm not. I'm just. I will come if needed for for a short time, for transitional period of time, and pass that, and eventually we will have democracy." And that's allow a lot of groups inside Iran that not necessarily support him to unite around that.
mhm,
I mean that any alternative than the Iranian regime is better than the situation right now, and people rally gather around the Reza Shah Pahlavi. Um, and this is two key factors that were lacking. And I'm saying all of that, all of that, all of that, if America will not do something, um, and I believe that they will do soon, we will be very, very sorry for that for a long time. That's an opportunity um, that we must, Western countries, Western civilization must take, because nothing in the Middle East, nothing in the world, starting all the way from Venezuela to President Trump vision for the Middle East, American interests worldwide in the Middle East, will not be able to be achieved if the Iranian regime will stay there.
mm.
That's simple as that. So in this way, this is where everything starting, and this is where everything will end.
What do you think about the Shah? Is he somebody that can unite the Iranian people and get restored to power? Would that be a good outcome based on your understanding of the Iranian people? Or would you say rather the other individual that you mentioned, and or is there a third option that would, or what would you say is the best option for the Iranian people, other than, of course, the current Ayatollahs that are obviously contrary to the majority opinion, like you pointed out. You know, the majority do not want to embrace Islam. The majority, what I'm seeing is almost like the actual, true, real feminist movement, not the one that we see in the West, but where women are really defiantly anti wearing the hijab, covering themselves up, submitting to this Islamic oppression of women. One of which was one of my last interviews on the podcast here, by the way, so people can go back and also listen to my conversation with Marzi, and also confirming a lot of what we're saying here in this conversation.
So uh, for long term, eventually, I believe that the leadership of Iran will come from the people of Iran, and I truly believe that it will be a woman. I don't have a name to give you right now, but
Mm,
I guess it will come from that. I think that for an immediate, and I hope that we will be there for an immediate transaction, and someone that for a short time, few years maybe, to prepare the democracy, the Reza Pahlavi will be a strong figure and strong leader to do that, even if he's not acceptable of all the streams. I think the fact that he's coming and he's saying very, I want Iran to be a democracy. I'm here to help in this process. I'm not going, and this is extremely important. And he declared that I'm not going to try to bring back monarchy. And in a way, this is aligned with the wishes and of the Iranian people, especially the young generation, that they don't want monarchy. They
mm,
want democracy. They want to go back, as I said, 2,000 to 2,500 years back to the real Persian Empire and everything that it represents. And in a way, the Persian Empire of those days represent the democracies of these days.
Hmm.
Cyrus the Great and Dariush and others, and they really relate to that. And when they are saying make Iran great again, they're not talking about the Shah period of time 50 years ago. Not at all. They're talking about 2,500 years ago. But to get there, it will take time. And any alternative that will sit there and say, okay, I'm here for 4 years, I'm here until that, and that will help. And I think that most of the Iranians see that and they support that right now. And anything that will unite the Iranian people around an alternative for few years until they will take their own destiny in their own hands, so that will be better than what we are having right now. But it's important to emphasize that everything that we are seeing right now in Iran, it's authentic. It's coming from the Iranian people. No one can. Only the Iranian people will take down the Iranian regime. They need help. They need that. But that's looks what's going on over there.
Yeah.
They are doing that. That's them. And hopefully we will be smart enough. I mean, we mainly America now to help them. It's like the Mortal Kombat video game that you have in the end, this finishing part. I think we are there, and this is what President Trump need to come and do right now, this finishing part, and really take this awful, brutal, cruel regime, and we will see a lot of differences, not just inside Iran, worldwide.
I think a good way also to make it clear for people, because I've heard the naysayers, including Charlie Kirk before his assassination. People are sharing that online to try to counter what you just pointed out, by the way, in saying that we don't want to get into another forever war. This is against American interests. But I think what people are doing, they're trying to compare oranges with oranges, but you can't. Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan are not comparable with Iran. These are wrong comparisons, right? And I think that's something that I'm seeing, at least by listening to you, that's making it clear to me that actually this is the time and a golden opportunity for the West to stand with the Iranian people who want to join Western values, Western worldview, and they want a democracy, they want freedom, they want liberty, they want religious freedoms, in contrast to Afghanistan and Iraq, where their mindset isn't like that. And so I can agree that yes, or not just agree. I've actually argued as well that it's false to win hearts and minds. This concept that Americans had, it's this Western idea of we're going to give them democracy and everything's going to just magically fix itself.
They are
Um,
already there.
you're
You
right.
see,
But the
what we
Iranians
see,
are like that, and this
they
is this
are
is
like
where I think
that.
a lot of Westerners are confusing, and hopefully they're listening to what you just said there, because to me that makes very perfect sense what you just said. Why this is very different, and like you said as well, and I think this is huge. That this is probably one of the biggest golden opportunities for two reasons. Number one, Iran can be truly free and liberated from this tyrannical reign, and it benefits the rest of the world. It benefits America and Western civilization as a whole, because Iran is one of the number one threats behind most of all the terrorism in the world globally. So it benefits the Iranian people. It benefits the Western causes and what we care about, what America cares about, what Israel cares about. It benefits everyone. It's a win-win situation, that if we play our cards right, so to speak, we can actually have a very different future for the rest of the world, really.
It is exactly like that, and the one in not in like in any a lot of Muslims or Arabic countries, that maybe the leadership is went through a process of education, Western, being much more Western, really want to be part of the West, but their people are not there.
Yeah.
They are not there. We see that in a lot of places. We see in Saudi that the leadership over there are trying to. to bring their own people to be more and more and more close to the West. And we see that this is a process that's taking a lot of time. In Iran, is exactly the opposite. The leadership is holding anti-Western, very very strong values ideology against the West, and their own people, even after 50 years of brainwashed, cool regime that try to oppose on them, radical Islam, Shia, anti-Western ideology, the outcome is exactly the opposite. So this is the differences between those countries, those cases. I know that Americans got a um, um, I will say, hard past about changing regimes, and I think that this case is very different. But also because of they are not talking, they don't need to have foot on ground. That's not a case. It's to come and try to support and to hit the first of all what President Trump is doing by influence, tweets, methods are every statement from President Trump is like 10 ballistic missiles. That's the back and the way and the wind that it is given to the Iranian people and to everything that is going right now. So this is very very effective. His statements in the last 2 weeks are very effective. Thanks to that, we see what we see in Iran right now. If without that, they were not out. It was finished few days ago.
Right. They wouldn't have the courage to keep fighting
Yes,
against these horrible odds.
hope, hope. This is what they needed,
Yeah.
and this is what President Trump gave them. This is what also Prime Minister Netanyahu gave them. This is what I hope that we will see from more and more people worldwide support the Iranian people, because we see the hypocrisy of mainly for of Europe. After in the October 8th, they went outside shouting um, against Israel and free Palestine and all of this. And now, um, um, after everything that we see in Iran, we see the awful silence of the European and the West about what's going on inside Iran, that they are butchered for on behalf of their own regime. So so what Trump is doing is extremely important, but what he will do soon, hitting and targeting regime, I will say symbols, but also those that hurt the protesters like Basij and IRGC headquarters and all of that. That will be extremely effective also, and I believe that we are going to see a big change soon.
Mm. And just to wrap up here, I think a thing that's also important for people to understand, and correct me if I'm interpreting, the information wrong, because again, I'm not an expert on this. That's why I have you on the program. But what I've seen is what looks to me like a power play, not just against Venezuela, not just against Iran, but we're looking at a power play against China. We're looking at power play against Russia, because, to my understanding, Venezuela and also Iran, they were kind of like these areas and proxies that China was benefiting from. And we know the money laundering that's going on with the oil that's sold to China, right? And how the Iranians get their money back for and whatever. Yet the economy is still terrible in Iran, right? And the same with Venezuela. It has the largest oil reserves in the world. It has massive gold mines. Yet the country itself is poor as dirt, right? And what I've seen, to me, it seems like Trump made this incredible power play to topple the Russia, sorry, the Chinese advancements, trying to topple America, which they're doing through all kinds of different means. And we're seeing this with all these woke agendas and all these other agendas that we were mentioning earlier. Am I seeing this correctly? Am I misinterpreting this? Does this
No,
seem
I think it's I believe that's very accurate, and this is the sole answer for those that see that as something that is related to Israel, to Zionism, to Judaism, to all of that. That's exactly that. The picture is much wider. You need
Mm.
to to zoom out for a second. When President Trump said he's going to make America great again, this is the way to do that. So of course Israel will benefit from that. Western countries will benefit from that. We need to be we need to be happy that that's the situation. This is what alliance means. But absolutely, there is a bigger picture. We each one of us need to zoom out, understand. America was not in after. I mean, the last administration of Trump, he started that. But then come an administration that in a way try to take everything back. I'm not talking about Obama, the 8 awful Obama years that in a way created so much of the mess that we see worldwide. But President Trump come, declared, and he's doing that. And of course, the picture is much more wider, and it is to bring America to the place that they're supposed to be, they need to be. And I think, as I said, this is the answer for those that claiming and saying this is a Zionist thing, this is an Israeli thing. It's not. It's America and Russia. It's America and China. It's about leading the world, leading the free Western countries, and 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 thanks God that we are in this situation, and we are winning. We are winning.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say we, you're saying the West, which is America with a new leadership, vis-a-vis Trump, and Israel with the prime minister that we have. That I, again, and this is, I think I've said this before, but to be very clear, I don't think I've ever voted for Benjamin Netanyahu personally. Yet to me, he's the one who is, together with Trump, have led the Western civilization into a new era of freedom from
Mhm.
tyranny, from human trafficking, from global terrorist entities and operations working globally. And for people to be criticizing this, like you said, as some kind of a Zionist agenda or Mossad agenda, and we control everything, it's really nonsensical. And the ones who are saying this, to me, just look at who they are. These are elitists in Hollywood. Really, you're going to take the word of a Hollywood actor over somebody like yourself, who's a field has field experience with the enemies against the West. And these are your analyses. My analysis is again, I'm not an intelligence expert, but I am the guy who gets sent to fight these wars. And I think I know who my enemy is when I go and fight them. I get the intelligence that I get handed to our units and so on. And we have a small picture, of course, of the big operations, but that's what I'm seeing. And I think that's important for people to understand, is ask yourself, who's the person that's coming against this? Like Mamdani, he's the one who, to my knowledge, out of all of America, he's the only leader, which again, he's just a mayor of a city. He's not a congressman. He's not an elected official of the government of America. He's the only one that criticized the operation in Venezuela, to my knowledge, and that right there should
Who
make you ask
criticized
questions.
the Venezuela operation? Iran
Yep,
and Hamas and a few countries like that, and Mandani.
yep. And
I
and
mean,
who are
that's
they playing
fact.
on Iranian television? Tucker. Am I seeing correctly? Because I saw it, but again, I don't understand Farsi enough to say, oh yes, this is Persian television. But is that correct that they were actually playing some of Tucker's talking points? And
I didn't see that in person, but
okay,
I will not be surprised. He gained his place with Qatar, with Iran. Next step, maybe North Korea and other places. He's That's the same.
wow,
He's out of the camp, and
yeah,
better than the American. I'm saying that as an Israeli, but you will see. The American will tell him, "You are
yeah,
out of the camp. You are out of the camp." We need to make sure that Trump vision agenda to Western civilization will continue. I don't know if there is any way that Trump will stay more or forever if it's in the way that I see that. But his legacy, his agendas need to continue. He's taking the world to the right direction. He's fixing a lot of things that were broken, and he's doing a great job. And again, I'm just, this is my opinion as I see that. We need some moral clarity, and finally, we have someone that said, "Guys, this is bad. This is good. This is light. This is darkness," and everybody need to just open their eyes, to be honest with themselves, and recap, go to basic, back to basic. That's the case.
Mm, mm. Well, Sagiv, you have given us a wealth of understanding and getting through the weeds of this issue with Iran. And if you have any final thoughts that I might have missed, or questions I missed that you would like to finish with, but I just want to say thank you up until now for all this wonderful information that at least I've learned today from, and hopefully also the audience have gained some nuggets of truth here that will help them understand this very complicated situation that we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. And thank you, Doron. That's was wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to make sure to have links here that you'll be able to follow Sagiv and the work that he's doing. He's been, again, he's not a influencer. He's not
Yeah.
any of those social media people, but this is somebody from the field that has made himself public as of recent, and getting that truth out there from years of field experience and really boots on the ground reality. And I think is a wealth of knowledge, and hopefully can help benefit you, and someone that I highly suggest you follow and listen and watch a lot of his content, which again, a lot of it is in Hebrew, but right now we are trying to break, how to say, the barrier and get you out to an English speaking audience here today. Brother, thank you so much. This has been
Thank you
awesome.
so much. Thank you, Doron.